Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Bradford, the product director for D&D Beyond, and thank you for joining me for another development update and community Q&A session. This is the last week of the month, and so what I have been trying to target is that week is kind of reserved for all the questions. So there are going to be a lot of questions answered today. We've got some of the questions that have been compiled over the last few weeks that I wasn't able to get to during our time together. And so I'll start with some of those. But as always, you guys can ask questions in chat. And Lauren Urban is going to be there. I didn't even say the oboe crazy there. I guess I just did, but I didn't say it as part of her name. So I really made an improvement there. But Lauren Urban is going to be collecting those in the chat, and we can get to whatever we can throughout the rest of the day. Let's talk about the rest of the lineup, though, because we do have some exciting news to share before we jump into all those questions. The latest updates, we're going to jump into that in just a second. In progress, upcoming, as always. Data update today, we're going to take a look at the tiers of play in D&D, and with all the millions of characters that we have on D&D Beyond, we see some interesting data. You guys have been asking for this for a while, so we'll look at how the distribution goes between the different tiers of play, as well as what the class breakdown is amongst those tiers of play. For instance, I have heard many people say that wizards are the best thing to play in the final tier of play, and we'll see if that possibly means that they're more popular with characters that are level 17 to 20. We'll take a look at the data when we get there. And then, like I said, Q&A is definitely happening today. So, what is new? We have a new product, and this is actually a new product for D&D Beyond in general that is coming on February the 8th. So that is next week, next Friday, I believe. And this is a typically physical product, the Tactical Maps Reincarnated. And that is going to be sold in hobby stores and I believe elsewhere starting on, well, no, I think it's just hobby stores on February 8th. But you can get those physical maps. They're going to be really high quality. It's going to be a great product. So I encourage you to grab that. If physical is your jam, go out and grab that. But you can unfold those on the table. They're going to be miniature scale, and you can play right there with them. We've received many requests, even for a product like this, to also allow you to unlock the digital version of that. So high resolution maps that you could print off yourselves, or that you can use in other applications, that you could open in Photoshop and make some edits to. So there are a variety of reasons that having that in a digital format is compelling. And so we are going to offer that with this first product next week. And the price tag on D&D Beyond is going to be $14.99. If you buy individual maps, that price is $1.99. So keep that in mind. If that is something that interests you with these high resolution maps, that will be available next week. We put out a call last week for some new moderators, and I'm happy to share that we have those new moderators chosen. So if you have not been contacted, that means that we have not chosen you for this pass, but we're going to continue to expand. And I imagine that we will open up the moderation ranks quite a bit going forward into the future too. So definitely continue to try. We will keep the list together. And as we open up the ranks a little bit more, we'll reach out with that. But we have, I think, 12 new moderators is what I was seeing coming through from Lauren. So we have a lot of new moderators that are going to be helping us on in Twitch chat. There might be some in there right now, some new moderators. So if you're a new moderator, you might want to do the, I'm not hip to the jive on all this stuff, but I think there's like a hi emoji or something like that people typically do. But I encourage you guys to do the wave if you want to. If you're a new moderator here today, might not have any on this stream, and that's fine. But you guys will see some new names start popping up. And very importantly, we have new moderators on our upcoming, but not upcoming anymore, Discord server. So I'm also happy to share that we have opened up our D&D Beyond Discord server to the public right now. I think it's open right this second. So you can go to ddb.ac/discord or dndbeyond.com/discord. And that's the invite link to get you into that server. And we may, when we get to the Q&A section, I'm going to go check out Discord and see if anybody has joined us over there yet. And that would be a good place for you to put some questions. We'll tell you the channel when we get there, but it'll be a good place for you to get your questions seen and heard, because I'm just going to be curious before the end of this development update how many people are joining us over there as of right now. Oh, and to point out this picture on the screen right now is a sample of one of the maps, and this is not highest resolution. So trust me, these things are very, very high resolution. You can print these out in incredible detail, but I really love this product. A lot of these tactical maps in days gone by, and so the fact that they're coming out and there's a collection of these things, I think there are 20 something maps in that pack. So lots and lots of maps to dig into that are just truly incredible works of art. So you guys look for that product and join us in Discord. If you can multitask, don't just completely leave me if you can't multitask. But if you can multitask, join us over on Discord. And this is just the beginning with Discord. We're trying to just get everyone together first. That's the first step. We are going to add more and more functionality to the server over time. We're going to hopefully give you places to play games via Discord on the server. It's a place where you will occasionally see staff members pop in and say hello. I might be out there occasionally saying hello to folks. So be sure to check out the Discord server. I guess that is the future, and we are happy to finally have that server opened up for everybody. In progress and upcoming. So for our content team, they are working on site navigation and mega menus. Hope to have more to share on that before too much longer. Challenges team is working on the encounter builder. We're starting to put together basically kind of the last details page for how the encounter will look after you have built it. So really excited to see the building part of that starting to come together. We've got monsters that you can expand and collapse and see all the details for. We've got some of the filters starting to come into place. So I'm hopeful that we'll have something that we can start to show off before too much longer. This is not coming to the subscribers yet, but I'm saying something I can show you guys in one of these development updates, kind of the direction and how that's coming together. But really excited about what the team's working on there. And then our characters team is working on getting the character sheet ported over into our mobile application. And so the character sheet will join as the next phase of our beta on the mobile app. And when we start to get closer to that time, we will certainly open that up for test flight. And I don't know what Google Play calls it, but it's the thing where you can opt in early to start kicking tires on that. So we will open that up. We'll put out tweets, and I'll probably talk about it here on the development updates when that time comes, so you can start checking it out before it's actually ready for prime time. But we will kind of take that approach. It's an approach that we want to continue to take with a lot of our new features. We would like to get this stuff out for alpha. We would like to start getting feedback early where we can incorporate that into our development cycle, and we can save time, and we can make sure that we're validating that we're meeting the need that the community has out there. Upcoming content management. This is what we used to call source management, whitelisting, blacklisting. That's on its way for the content team after they finish up mega menus. My characters page updates. That is also on the list for kind of next when some of these other things finish. AL validation, I've moved that one up, just kind of in the upcoming, because that's one of the things that is on kind of the near horizon here. And that would be where you could just create an Adventures League character, and that character would follow all the rules that it needs to follow, such as player's handbook +1 and a variety, that they're using point buy and all of that. So we'll start getting into that before too much longer. And then another one that I'm adding up here, and I've removed the category of additional at the bottom that has been here in previous weeks. Trust me, it's not that those things are going away by any means whatsoever, but I think that it just kind of clutters up the slide. There's a lot of information on the screen at one time. You can always see what is part of the public roadmap at ddb.ac/feature-roadmap. So you can see anything on the Trello board out there for what is upcoming. So all those things are still there. All those things are still coming. They are still going to be a focus for us. But interactive maps is one that I thought I'd call out here, because we've been talking about some really cool ideas for how you can have, linked hotspots on a map within an adventure that will take you to the text for that particular region. So you can go from A1 to A1 in the text, and then you can go back to the map very easily. Over time, we might incorporate even some type of sidebar navigation that would make that work even slicker. So that's something that we're going to start utilizing. And this has come from some feedback with people running adventures using D&D Beyond. So there's a lot of convenience to that. And it's hard for me to do it any other way when I'm running a published adventure now. But as we're really digging in and starting to see what that next layer of functionality is going to be, that's where we're getting very excited about doing something with these maps, and that's where we're headed. All right, let's see. Let's look at some data. So the tiers of play. So we get this question quite a bit, so I'll let you guys consume this the chart here for a moment while I take a swig of water. All right. So as you can see, Tier 1 dominates the characters that are created and, again, active on D&D Beyond. It really does dominate. Tier 2, as expected, is the next highest. So that's going to take you through 10th level. We have a lot of information throughout the history of Dungeons and Dragons that many games, many campaigns do not make it past the 10th level mark. I find this really intriguing for a variety of reasons. I like low to mid-level play. I really, really appreciate and enjoy it. I also like higher level play. They are very different in the feel that they come across. But most of the characters that we see on D&D Beyond, this could just be a timing issue also. D&D Beyond has been active for, right at 2 years here, all the way through the beta, I'm saying. And so with all of that going on, campaigns last a long time. And so people might not even be at this point where they're, at those higher levels yet. There could be games that are one shots that people are creating where they're just going straight to 15th level, straight to, 20th level, that kind of thing. But you can see that tier 3 and tier 4 are definitely not as represented in the character information that we have on D&D Beyond. So then classes by tier of play. And just to be certain that everyone understands what tiers of play are out there, they talk about this in the player's handbook, but tier 1 is level 1 through 4. Tier 2 is 5 through 10. I may be getting the start and ending there slightly wrong. And then tier 3 is 11 through 16, and tier 4 is 17th through 20th level. So those are kind of the buckets and the breakdown of these tiers. And as you can see, for all 4 tiers, not a surprise, the fighter is the most represented class in the game. Kind of always is, to be quite honest. And we have with the second level of this, it is always the rogue, no matter which tier that you're talking about. But then when we get to the third place, this is where things start getting interesting. So this is where you see the wizard takes control in tier 3 and tier 4 firmly in third place, but the cleric in tier 2 and the ranger in tier 1 for all the characters created on DDB has really made its mark there, barely over the cleric. So that is another interesting point of information. But I'll let you guys consume this one for just a second as well. This is the class distribution by tier of play on D&D Beyond. And if you need to dig into more detail here, we do have the VOD where you can pause it and look at it as long as you would like. All right, let's jump into some questions. So, first of all, I had several questions that I did not get to last week. And so I want to jump into a few of those because I think that we have more time for questions than we ever have. So I'm at 17 after the top of the hour. So I think we're going to have a lot of time for these, but I am going to spend 10 minutes or so going through some of the ones that I have not been able to get to for the last few weeks. So, Fatui, is there any work being done making adventures more readable via the web browser on a PC? I find it a bit clunky, the navigation between chapters. I agree with this. This is something we were talking with our content team about yesterday, in fact, and this is something that's on the list. To answer the question very explicitly, no, there is no work being done to do that yet, but we intend to do that work at some point in the future. We understand that navigation, particularly between chapters, is pretty clunky right now, and we want that to improve, so it is on the list. I have no idea on this username because it looks like a jumbling of many consonants. Djpfpf is what I will say. Are you going to make the portrait frames and theme colors that were previously pre-order bonuses available for purchase? I would love to have more colors to use to match my character. I am sure that is something that we will do in the future. And I am also pretty certain that we are going to offer a variety of other options that are free, that are not tied to pre-order bonuses. So more and more customization is going to be coming to the character sheet in the future. And yes, you will have the option to get some of those older things via purchase. No timeline yet, but you will be able to do that at some point in the future. Unstable Fool. That's the username. That's not me calling anybody out. Do you plan on adding Strongholds and Followers by Matt Colville or any other books? So I've answered this one many times regarding third-party products. I am not able to share any kind of forward progress on being able to secure any kind of business arrangement for any of those third-party products. I can tell you on a personal level, I would love to see these things happen, and I am working to see if we can make that come about. What I can share is that for instance, recently announced Penny Arcade Acquisitions Incorporated Dungeon Manual, that is an official third-party product, that will be available on D&D Beyond upon release. So we're really excited about that. And any other potential products like that, we would certainly support. We're going to continue working the angle on the other types of third-party products. Fatui again, will D&D Beyond down the line allow third-party content? Oh, literally the same question. Sorry about that. Darth Jar Jar, except the A's are the number 4. Very clever. Question: how many unicorns not planned in feature request? Sorry, I read that one. I had a note not to get into that one because I don't understand it. Gidgy Wish: since playtest content may not stay on D&D Beyond forever, when a UA class is added, for example, the Artificer, could there be some way for an account to save it so it won't go away? Other playtest things can be copied to homebrew for saving, but a class cannot. There is no there is no plan for that at this point in time. And to be honest, we likely would not want to do that because of the way that playtest content works and the way that we are working that with Wizards of the Coast. The really short answer here is Wizards of the Coast, I believe rightly so, don't want kind of these orphaned game mechanics out in the wild because they are potentially confusing for especially a lot of the new players that are coming to the game. They do not want bits of game development that they have abandoned to still be out there and still propagate. So makes a lot of sense from where they're coming from. And so that is one of the reasons that we do remove that content when it either transitions into a published form or when it gets cut from that and removed from the game. Let's see. Blue Cheese 7. What flavor hint water are you drinking? Have you tried other flavors? Any favorites? So obviously this was asked last week, but this week it is peppermint hint water, and it is outstanding. So if you haven't had that, I highly recommend peppermint. I thoroughly enjoy apple as a classic. My absolute favorite flavor was something that they did during the summer last year, which is cherry limeade hint water. It is amazing. So I'm looking forward to that this next summer. Hopefully they'll bring it back. Jay Stillfeather, when will we see a dice roller? I don't know, but I can tell you it is on the list. It is something that we want to have happen. We've had several initial conversations, even in the last few weeks, about how that would take shape. I'm very excited about the trajectory. We'll share more on that as soon as we're able. Scamanator, what is the one thing you wish you would have done differently from the start in making D&D Beyond? Or what's something you learned in the process? I would say that this is a very good question. And this is a question that someone in my role asks continually. This is something that we literally ask after everything that we do. And so I would say that the biggest thing that I wish we could have done, I'm not sure that we could have done it any differently, but I wish we could have been able to, with the digital character sheet, take an approach like we are attempting to do with the encounter builder, which is get that out into a very early format in the beginning and collect all that feedback and then be able to incorporate that a little more closely to when the initial development is happening. Because as you guys know, we were getting towards a launch and we launched with the character sheet. I had strong hypotheses that this would not be what the community actually needed, but the issue was we were a little bit unclear on what the community did need. And so we decided to stick something, try to, throw something against the wall, see what stuck, see what didn't, and allow the community to communicate to us. So that process happened, and we jumped right back into doing the character sheet revamp. I think that the character sheet management is in a really solid place now as a result of all of that feedback and all of that hard work and us retooling how that worked. But if we're talking about, essentially what would we do differently or what are the biggest regrets, I wish that we had the time back then and the just the knowledge that, hey, this might be a good approach, because I do believe that we could have saved some time in that process. But again, hindsight is 2020. Not sure that we would have been able to make those decisions back then, but I think that that's one of the things that would stand out to me at this point. Either way, I'm happy with where we are currently with the sheet. Lots of improvements coming to it still. We're not there. We're never there. There's always a place to improve, but we really are in a good place with it. And I think that that process was a valuable process, even though I do think that it could have gone differently. And we're trying to incorporate that as we think about the future. ZZ Apostolic Alcoholic ZZ. Y'all hiring devs. So we currently, especially with our transition to fandom, I don't believe that we have job requisitions up yet out there, but that is coming soon. You'll see what we're hiring for before too much longer. And yes, we will be interested in some devs at some point. What's your favorite piece of feedback you've gotten from someone affiliated with Wizards of the Coast? That's a really good question. What's your favorite piece of feedback you've gotten from someone affiliated with Wizards of the Coast? I actually won't be able to share some of my favorites here because it might not be appropriate. But I will say that one of the things that has excited me is that the existence of D&D Beyond, we have come to understand it is beginning to influence some minor game mechanic decisions or story decisions. And so it's a situation where the existence of D&D Beyond is allowing the designers to do some things and to potentially try out some new ways of doing things in adventures that just haven't really been feasible before. And so that is as vague as I'm possibly going to get on that. And I think that you guys will understand. I'll be able to talk about that before too much longer about what I mean there. But I've really enjoyed seeing how this move into being able to have a digital game companion like this, how it is impacting the game, and how the game health continues to just climb. And it really is a great thing to be a part of that. We're really excited about it. Backdoor Shady Dealer question: Applebee's, Buffalo Wild Wings, or Sizzlers? So I'm actually not a huge fan of any of those three. I guess if I have to pick, I'm going with Buffalo Wild Wings because I love chicken wings, but there are places here in Huntsville, Alabama that are far better chicken wings than Buffalo Wild Wings. And so I'm going to choose one of those places. You guys wouldn't even know what they are, but I'm going to choose one of those places. Although I will say that I went to a Western Sizzler, which I think is what you're talking about here, just kind of by accident because my kids begged me to go on a vacation that we recently took. And there was something about some grilled chicken tenders they had on that buffet that was, it did not seem like it was, congruent with everything else that was there. Those chicken tenders were amazing though. So maybe I would go with Sizzlers, thinking about those chicken tenders. All right. Uber Maggot. Let's see. When is the DM screen forthcoming? As always, I saw uh, more tweets about this week. Someone asking for timelines. I think that you guys know at this point. I'm waiting for the memes out there. We don't give dates. We just don't give dates. Every time you give a date in the software development industry, it causes more harm than good. And so we don't talk about dates. We talk about priorities, but we don't talk about dates. And so, no, I don't know when that DM screen is forthcoming, but you can see on the public roadmap where that falls currently in the prioritization scheme. If people want to see that more and more, we're going to be looking at our feature request portal. We're going to be looking at our forums. We're going to be looking potentially at Discord now. We're going to be collecting feedback all over, and those priorities could shift depending on that feedback. So here is that username again that is Dodofikabuja. Are there any customization options planned for character pages, colors, themes, etc.? So you already can do some of that customization in the character sheet. There are absolutely additional customization options that we are exploring. Can't quite talk about yet, but we know that people like to, make things their own. And so we're going to continue to provide those opportunities to do that. Let's see. Trying to make sure that I'm not re-answering the same questions. Okay, this is a good one. Ninja Squirrel. You mentioned AL verification. AL has a tracking sheet for adventures. Is there a plan to add this as a function, i.e., the DM filling it out through the website with rewards and such? Yes, over time, we plan to incorporate all of that and help that become digital. Doc Knox, um, what are your thoughts on the requested feature for unlocking spell lists? That's a great question. I'm assuming by unlocking spell lists, you mean allow a wizard to select cleric spells or, vice versa or anything in between that. My thoughts on it are I'm not going to say that it's off the table. It is something that we could potentially do in the future, but we would have to be incredibly careful with the way that we implement that because, again, we have new players coming to the game in droves, and we can't confuse or overcomplicate a process for those new players. But we do still want to cater to a veteran, cater to as much customization as we possibly can in your games. And so I would say that it's not a priority for us, but I would definitely not say that we will never see it. It could be something that happens, but we're going to have to be really careful about how we implement that. All right. I think that's all the questions that I'm going to take from some of the previous stuff. And then I am going to jump over into Discord. All right, let's see here. So we've got Discord. I am supposed to tell you that if you're asking a question on Discord, you need to go to the Dev Update Questions channel, and that's where we're going to see the questions. So that is where I am currently right here in the Dev Update Questions channel. I don't know how to make this bigger. Is there a way to make that larger? Maybe not. I don't know. All right. Hopefully, you guys aren't saying anything crazy because it's on the stream right now. So don't say anything crazy. All right. We're going to go through these. From Eanning, any update to improvements to the search tool? I only recently realized clicking the spyglass doesn't search what is entered in the box, just sends you to advanced search. I'm a little unclear on that one, but yes, we are looking at some of the things that have been mentioned about, after you type something and hit enter, it's not going through and forcing the search. We are starting to get into more and more of that. And so certainly, keep an eye out for some updates as we go along. Sans D20 sounds like a terrible life. Sans D20. Will pre-gens be made available? That's a good question. And that is something that is tied to the ability to publicly copy a character. So that is something that I believe you're going to see on the public roadmap is the ability to publicly copy a character. And so with that functionality, we're going to be able to go and say, create a character for those pre-gens in the Lost Mine of Phandelver. Someone can visit that pre-gen, someone can pull down that pre-gen and copy it to his or her account. So that would be the idea. So yes, they will be made available. No timeline yet. Rob 2E. Any news on Fantasy Grounds integration, especially for Twitch streaming? No news on that at this point in time, but definitely appreciate the question. We'll see what can happen in the future. Is there a plan to give? This is from Miko. Hi, Miko. I believe I met you at Gen Con, if I'm remembering correctly. Is there a plan to give homebrew magic items actions in the same way that you can with homebrew feats? So yes, magic item actions is something that is a gap right now, and it's a gap that we want to fill. So even official magic items, regardless of homebrew, it would be these official magic items like the Ring of Shooting Stars. This is a great example. It has actions that are not tied to spells necessarily. It has actions that we would want to incorporate as part of that magic item. That's a gap. That's something that we want to fill as soon as we can. G Pyromania, I bet that's Grand Pyromania. Is there a plan to have a D&D Beyond branded sweet tea? So we are trying to get in on the merch game. We're trying to figure that out, see what we can do. You know, I don't know if sweet tea is considered merchandise or not. I mean, I would think it is, but we'll see what we can do on some DDB sweet tea. Mr. Grimm 123. Will the ability to print high-res images of maps from purchased campaigns be made available, even if it printed to standard letter size paper? Currently difficult to print a map. I am a little confused about this one because I think that this already exists out there, but there might be some barriers that are making that more difficult than it needs to be for you to get into that. But with all of the maps inside Adventures, you can open that map. Sometimes it's going to take, open image in new tab outside of the lightbox. But if you do that, you can get that into another tab. You can see by zooming in when you get in, to that Chrome tab or whatever, that those maps are very high resolution. It is doubtful that we would be supplying higher resolution than that. So if you need something more than that, that's going to be very, very challenging because that's kind of the highest resolution that we have available. But there may be something there that you could potentially be missing. And again, that's good feedback for us because we have talked about having, more of a download type functionality from the Lightbox to make some of that clearer. But you can definitely access those very high resolutions of those maps already in those adventures. All right, let's see. Alris, any plans with the forthcoming homebrew revamp to have options for druids that carry over into their beast forms, such as magical armor that gives a bonus to beast shape AC, for example? There is the potential for that, and that would likely be some new modifiers that we would be adding into the system, the magic item system there. But there also are some workarounds that you can use with this right now. If you include some of your favorite forms to wild shape into, you can customize, you can adjust the armor class if you need to in the meantime. But yes, over time, I imagine we would end up adding some modifiers to cover that use case. Fendar, is there going to be a nice place? I don't know where the word nice came in there. Is there going to be a place in this Discord to discuss homebrews from the website or get some homebrew spotlight stream? That's a good question. I believe that our mods should jump on that feedback and suggestion. Sounds like a good idea to me. And we have started spotlighting some homebrew on the streams. I want to do more and more of that. I believe Discord functioning as a way to surface some of that would be a wonderful idea. Izual, do you have any plan to include a level up button or feature a character sheet that would be a little more organic than the current one? That is what the character builder overhaul actually is going to be doing. So yes, when that time comes, you'll see lots of improvements there. Will we be able to create homebrew-based classes or weapons soon? Soon is one of those words that have a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. So I have no idea what you consider soon, but it is on the list, and I'm sure it is something that we will be doing. Mr. Grebner, is D&D Beyond looking at making a platform like Fantasy Grounds or Roll20? What's the likelihood of a partnership with one of these platforms? We have recently shared news that's kind of been an evolution of all the feedback that we've received, that we do plan to do to move into some type of virtual game space in the future. There's definitely no timelines or anything like that on this, but we do believe that at this point it's the natural extension of where everything's headed with D&D Beyond. And so I am not opposed to any kind of integration with existing VTT platforms, but it's not something that we've been able to prioritize at this point. Yanning again. So if I type Paperbird in the search bar, I'm inclined to click the spyglass. Like the spyglass was a button that said search, but instead I get /search instead of got it. That is very helpful. That should not be happening. I agree. So we've got developers in here. Somebody needs to get that down as a JIRA ticket. We need to address that. Sans D20 also, could you also stream live via YouTube? We've started experimenting with that in the last couple of weeks. And to be honest, the experiments have not gone incredibly well on YouTube. So, and I don't even mean from a numbers perspective, but more from just a management perspective and a production perspective. It's been challenging to stream on YouTube. It does strange things with the VOD where we can't even rename the VOD after the fact. So I'm sure there is a gap in our knowledge about how all that really needs to work. We will continue to experiment and look into ways to do it. But yes, we would like to start streaming in some other places in addition to Twitch. Hayugert, is the plan for the encounter builder to be something that would track active encounters, HP, status effects, initiative, similar to something like improved initiative? Over time, all of that will happen. It kind of depends on what you mean by, encounter builder there. The encounter builder itself is going to be where you build the encounter. Then you will have the encounter as an entity. And then, yes, we will supply a way to run that encounter. So I think that answers your question. Aya Zorn, we get a lot of repeating questions every week, and he plans to expose a top Ask Dev Update questions on the website for ease of the community. That sounds like a really good idea, and it also sounds like a bit of a nightmare in maintenance. And so we will have to look into that. What I mean by that is, there could have been a question 8 months ago that someone asked me, and I answered that question truthfully, very openly and transparently at that time. Something changes in the 8 months following that. I answer that question differently. Then that is a task to remember to go back and update that on our website to make sure people don't have old information. I'm not saying that it's off the table. I think it is a good idea, actually, but I am saying that it is something that we'll have to consider to make sure that we have the appropriate resources for before we could do it. What upcoming feature of D&D Beyond is the staff most excited about? I don't know. You'll have to ask them. I don't know what they're most excited about. I can tell you what I'm most excited about, and that would be a lot of stuff that I can't talk about yet. But the thing that I can talk about that I'm most excited about is our monster builder. That is going to be the bee's knees. All right, Jim Kubak. Will DMs eventually get tools to create NPC pages similar to the character sheets? I already make full character sheets for major NPCs in my campaign, but a simplified option specifically for NPCs would be amazing. I'm trying to figure out what I can say. We'll see what happens with whatever is going on with the sidekick system. And I genuinely mean, I don't have some secret knowledge about exactly where that's going to end up. But I do think that whenever we go to handle what is going to happen with the current sidekick system, that is going to scratch the itch that you're talking about here. 1010-506. For those that write a pretty in-depth backstory, can there be an extended backstory page to be added when the character sheet gets exported for print? The current backstory is only so big. It'll help not having to copy and paste backstory into a Word doc. I think that's very reasonable. That's something we would love to do over time, even with the concept of campaign-based pages and a portal for your campaign. We could see that really taking a place somewhere involved in that, where your character could have his or her own page even. DJK, any plans for custom modifiers for homebrew to accommodate possibilities not covered by existing rules? That is a really, really tough one. because unfortunately, a modifier is not just something that is added in as a text and a number, for instance. It's something that then has to be plugged in and hooked up into the character sheet, into the item or spell that we're talking about. So homebrew modifiers, I'm going to go ahead and let the team sigh a breath of relief out here and say that it is very unlikely that we would do that. Our preference would be to hear what kinds of modifiers people need or want to see, what is going to cover gaps, and then we would implement those in a formal fashion. Mirrorless, does the D&D Beyond do the D&D Beyond devs play their own game with coworkers after work? Any thoughts on streaming? So we have a variety of games that go on. We play during the workday a couple of times a week. So just before the holidays, I completed a Dragon Heist campaign with people in the office that we had been running with for a while. A lot of them, some newer players that were joining the challenges team. So that was again, we played during work. We believe in dog fooding. So the concept of dog fooding is you need to use your product in order to know how your product is actually doing. And so we use D&D Beyond for all of these games. The character sheet revamp and what came out of that primarily was driven by the fact that I don't get to play that frequently. I do these days, which is great. But having dungeon mastered, I said, hey, I want someone else to dungeon master, and we got that DM in place. I started playing using our digital character sheet. I found it very wanting, and so everything that happened with the revamp was really triggered and catalyzed by me being able to dog food that during our in-office sessions. So yes, we do play Dungeons and Dragons quite a bit. I play it probably an embarrassing amount, counting all the things that happen at my home with my kids and everything else. But yes, we play a lot of D&D. There are D&D games that happen after hours as well that are more for fun. And as far as streaming goes, streaming is quite the undertaking. The production behind that is quite the undertaking. So I don't think anything is going to happen on that front soon, but you never know what could happen in the longer term future. Dagaba 46, when will we get our Wormwood sponsored D&D Beyond? I'd love to use my D&D Beyond site in a Purple Heart or Bolivian Rosewood finish. I believe you might be. Are you talking about like Wormwood tablet stands or something like that? If you are, I am talking to those guys to see what kind of options we might have in the future. I would not be surprised to see something come out of that at some point in the future again. I really love what those guys do, and so we'll see what happens. Let's see. Will there ever be a public? Oh, wait. This is from Shane. Oh, piggyback on Backstory's question. Backstory box that's hidden except between character and DM. Yes, we would definitely lock any of that behind permissions. So we would definitely do that. DJK, will there ever be a public plus option for character sheets so that people can read the currently hidden aspects? That ties into what I was just talking about with the question above. Yes, we are going to update those permissions. In fact, I'm pretty sure we're pretty close on that. We just need to kind of do the last little bit of that. And that's one of those low-hanging fruit things that we hope we can push out in between some of these major feature updates. Aaron Lore, one of our new moderators, does you reading from here directly mean Oboe Crazy has lost her job? No, not at all. I'm about to go back to Twitch chat, and she's got all kinds of questions waiting for me there. Let's see, 10 more minutes. All right, last question from Discord, and I'm going to jump back over to Twitch chat. Appreciate you guys joining us in Discord. This is a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this server taking off and being a wonderful place for people that love Dungeons and Dragons to come and hang, and also a place in the future where some cutting edge stuff starts happening here in Discord. Jim Kubak, is there any chance we'll get an update to player storage? It would be nice if we could set limits for how much containers can hold, allow players to decide where they're keeping items, bag of holding, backpack in the cart, etc. So there is not an update to that other than saying it is prioritized where you see it on the public roadmap. We will see how that goes in the future. All right, let's get rid of Discord for a second. I'm going to jump back for some questions from Twitch chat. From the Midnight Archer, the temporary effects feature request is marked as planned. Can you tell us what sort of effects this will include or how it will work? I'm not going to be able to go into a lot of detail because this is something that we know we want to do. It's something we've talked about a great bit, but we have not conceptualized and planned this in any level of detail yet. I can tell you that the concept and the idea would be that a druid could activate a wild shape that would change this that druid stats on the character sheet itself instead of it being this separate component for monster reference. In the sidebar with the creature section right now, it would change the sheet. It would hopefully even change the portrait and that kind of stuff when we get to that point. I can tell you that a barbarian could click to activate a rage. That would update the sheet with all of those elements. One of the reasons that we have not done anything with temporary effects to this point is because at current, we have no way for things to be boxed in by a time or a duration. And so someone clicking rage on their sheet without any concept of combat tracking, where you know how many rounds that rage is lasting, is going to result in a whole lot of players that are far more powerful than they should be because they forget continually or possibly purposefully to undo their rage when they have come out of a rage. So this is one of the reasons, again, we've got to make sure that new players don't get overwhelmed with this stuff. So that's one of the reasons that we haven't, prioritized that at this point. Other reasons are it's going to be pretty complicated to make this system work because the idea is this is all going to tie into this overall combat management system where dungeon masters and players can target creatures. It can prompt people for appropriate saving throws. So a DM can say that a Mind Flayer Archmage is targeting 3 players with a fireball. He can mark those targets. He can cast that fireball, and then that will prompt those players, as long as they're, connected in that campaign. You need to make a dexterity saving throw. When that time comes, you can either roll within D&D Beyond digitally, or you can roll your die and you get a 16. You can input 16, click, send. The DM immediately has that information of what that result was, and then it tells the DM whether you succeed or fail on their side. All automated. That's where we're headed with all of this stuff. So if you can imagine how much that will help with initiative, where a dungeon master can just simply click roll initiative on their interface, and then all the players can roll initiative, and then that immediately gives that feedback and it places people in order. There's no more of this anybody above 20, anybody above 15, all this stuff that has happened over the years. That's where we're headed with everything, and that temporary effect system is a big part of that. And so we need to make sure that it is fully integrated in everything that we're doing with the overall combat management system. Exoloot. You've been talking about special features for subscribers on the Discord server. Is there anything you need to do as a subscriber, and is the feature there yet, or is it a future feature? And no hurry. Thanks for that no hurry. That actually makes me feel really good. No, so we don't have anything in particular for subscribers at this time. Again, we want to allow people to congregate first. But yes, that is one of the first things that we're going to look at, is to give some subscriber only ability to chat and all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, a lot of that stuff's moving pretty quickly. So if I misanswered that, Lauren or anybody else that knows more than that, and we do have those channels already in place, let me know. But I do imagine we'll start to see that stuff before too much longer. Myth Epic Weaver. Does being a subscriber to D&D Beyond give any perks in the Discord server? If so, how do we link the two? Stay tuned. Before too long, we'll get some stuff out there. Yeah. So then if you're joining the Discord server right now, this is a message from Lauren. If you're joining the Discord server, you'll see a welcome message. Be sure to read that because it's got guidelines and everything else. And basically, it'll tell you how to join the rest of the server. So I think it's clicking an emoji, something like that. But there is a little bit of a gate. We want to make sure that we're being as responsible as we can. We're not allowing bots in and all that kind of stuff. So make sure you're a human. Look at the welcome channel, and that'll tell you how to join the rest of the server. Let's see. And it looks like we already have a homebrew discussion channel in Discord. So the power is in the people's hands. And we've got that set up already. That's good news. All right, Sandrol. Would my DM be able to try the encounter builder if I'm the one with the DM subscription in my group? This is a very good question, and we understand where folks are coming from on this. I'm not entirely sure we're going to be able to figure this one out in time for what's going to happen with the encounter builder, but it is something that makes a lot of sense to us, and we're going to take a real hard look at how that is working. But we're hopeful that we can put something in place here and potentially maybe tie that to content sharing in some way. But at this point in time, can't make any promises for this initial portion of the release for the encounter builder. But we do appreciate you sharing that feedback. It's very good feedback and it is very valid. And we're considering what the best path of action is for that. Giblix. Would Wizards of the Coast be willing and able to put up all the old edition books regarding Realms and Monsters up for sale in PDF format as well? $5 to $10 for a book or something. There's so much material no longer easily available. So this sounds like a little bit more of a question for Wizards of the Coast, but it is my understanding that you could visit the DMs Guild, and they have a lot of the older products that are available there for you to purchase via PDF. So encourage you to do that. See if they have what you're looking for there. Some of the very, very old things, maybe they don't, but and it might not cover all the ground that you want, but I know the DMs Guild is a good place to start your search. Joller McAwesome. Are there any plans on being able to categorize your own homebrew creations? Yes, that is something that we would like to add over time, more organization elements for homebrew itself, something that's on the list. Cyberwolf 1201, with the homebrew revamp, can you release a concise and more accessible reference doc for snippet code? Yes. We understand that for homebrew, we have plenty of gaps where, again, homebrew since day one has been the system that we have used on the back end to input all the elements that you see as official content on the site. And then we just tried to make it look slightly prettier. Trust me, you wouldn't want to see how it looks like on our internal stuff, but make it look slightly prettier and allow the public to start using it, where we could start getting some of that feedback and everything else. We know that we have gaps in knowledge about what modifiers mean, about what is possible with snippet codes. All of that is something that we're looking into, and it's something that this year we will certainly supply a solution that will help folks understand those elements in much more detail and be able to get what you need out of that. So again, appreciate the feedback. We'll certainly get to that. And then last question, it looks like from a user called Todd Kenrick. Do you love your new flumph in Heroes of the Veil? I adore it. I had a dream about it last night. Me and Flo go way back, as in like a whole day back. I adore and love Flo. And if anything ever happens to Flo, Briv will be even more of a maniac than he is now. So thanks for your question, Mr. Kenrick. Really appreciate it. Interesting username you got there. All right. I think that's it. We are out of time. Really appreciate everyone joining us today. Thanks very much for taking time out of your day. Really appreciate the questions. Great stuff. If I didn't get to answer it, hit me up on Twitter. I'm happy to do that there at Bad Eye Adam. We'll talk to you guys next week. Thanks.